Good morning, everybody. It is 10 a.m. on this cold Monday morning. You'll listen to 98.5 WNEWLP Aston. My name is Joe Tusio, and I have a co-host with me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nick Camlin, and I am here with Joe Tusio.
Okay. Now, I was actually contemplating not even doing a good morning because I don't even know how to positively talk about this team at this point now.
I was at work, so I have plausible deniability. So I haven't seen any highlights. The only thing that I did was listen to the radio a little bit on the way to work. All I know is that I started the Eagles defense. They got -6 points because they let up 45 points. And yeah, that happened.
So when I was watching the game, it was interesting how the first two series, I was thinking to myself, man, Sanchez is running this offense well. Maybe he's the guy that they actually need. Now, as obviously most fans know now, that's not the Mark Sanchez that we all know and love that plays a full 4 quarters. And one of the stats that I found alarming, and just, I don't want to say sad, but it kind of is. How do you allow Mark Sanchez to throw the ball 41 times?
Especially when you have DeMarco Murray. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's at this point, I don't even know what to say. It's hard to talk about this team now.
It is mainly just because of the lack of consistency. You know, DeMarco Murray will break off, a 20-yard run, and then he'll have eight runs of three or less yards. It's just very annoying to talk about, considering how much, I don't even know. I'm just flabbergasted. I've lost my tongue. The cat has the tongue. I don't know what to do. Joe,
it just
take
seems
it
like
over.
It honestly just seems like people don't care at this point. Like, is this going to be?
Yeah.
Is this going to be the year where it just goes all downhill from this point? Because their schedule is not easy.
There is a good chance of that. Like, I don't see them absolutely, imploding, trading everybody away, firing Chip Kelly. I don't see that happening at all. I just see them as being a disappointing team.
But I don't understand, and I'm not a player, I'm not around Chip Kelly, so I can't say that this is true. But I don't understand from a player's point how you have faith in this coach still, especially the way he's been coaching the last 2 or 3 games.
Well, I was able to read, I think it was either Jason Kelsey, Malcolm Jenkins, or somebody. They were saying that absolutely the guys, the players still do have trust in Chip Kelly, which I would think, somebody who's as different as Chip, who has been around for so long, who has gotten so deep into the system, I think you are obligated to have trust in him, or else, as we've seen with Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, maybe even Nick Foles, if you don't believe, if you don't have trust, you're gone. Is that a ruthless dictator? Maybe, but could it work? We've seen it with Bill Belichick.
But okay, hold up. Let's just pause this for a whole second. Pat Shurmur was saying that whole thing. Look at that team up there. They don't have the star receivers, but they somehow make it work. They also have maybe the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady.
Yeah.
If Chip Kelly did not win a national title. Chip Kelly is not this superstar coach, a Nick Saban type guy that is supposed to come out and change the foundation of a team in 1 year.
And nobody said he was going to do that in 1 year. Literally, nobody said that he was going to do that in 1 year.
But everybody thought he was going to be the coach to take over this team.
It's
and
only
make
been 3 or 4 years.
Only 3 or 4 years.
Exactly. How long did it take Bill Belichick? 5 or 6 years.
But for a guy that's supposed to be a revolutionary type coach, this offense, I don't see no triple read option plays. I see
that's not fair to compare him when he hasn't been around for that long, when he hasn't been able to get the players that he wants. That's not fair to compare them.
But he did get the players that he wants.
He got the players that he got at that time, but they do not fit his system, i.e. Sam Bradford.
Oh, cool. Well, I thought that was the Chip Kelly guy. Chip Kelly traded for him. It's
Okay,
not like it was his only option.
He traded for him, but that doesn't mean that he's the guy. He's the guy to fill in for Nick Foles.
So who would be your guy then?
Who would be my guy right now?
Yes.
That's a good question.
You have no options.
Are you talking about like right now or like in the offseason?
Like out of all the available guys that will be out there, Kaepernick, RG3, if you want to trade for him.
I would say either a Kaepernick or an RG3. Those would be the best possible options at this point, just because Sam Bradford, as evident of him being being hurt, he's very injury prone. Sanchez, I do like Sanchez, but he's a very good backup. He's not a good starter. That's who Mark Sanchez is. He's not a starter for this team. I would say a Kaepernick or an RG3 would be the best possible options, or go draft somebody in the first round.
Here's what makes me laugh, and it's quite funny to think about.
Let me hear your evil laugh real quick.
I don't really have an evil laugh. It's funny to think about.
Maniacal laugh.
Where people say Mark Sanchez is who he is. We already know what he is in the NFL at this point. Mm-hmm. Has Sam Bradford not played in the league for like 5 years? Has he not played with the Rams like the last 3 or 4 years? Or
yes,
I'm just stuck here. Like, I don't understand where that's coming from.
The times when he has played at a pretty good level. Not a high level, not a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning level, but he has played at a good starter level.
But people are acting like this is Sam Bradford's first year in the league, and we still need to see what he's got. He's been in the league for 5 years, and it's week 11.
If you think about it, it kind of is. It was kind of like when Michael Vick came back. It was kind of like it was his first year just because he was out for so long, because it's a new system. It kind of is that way, but I see your point. He has NFL experience. You look at his Wikipedia page. It says he's been around for 3 or 4 years, but because he was hurt and coming into a new system, you could see how it's a new beginning for him. That's what people are talking about. It's a new beginning. He's learning something new.
And I was the first one to say I would give him until the bye week. And after the bye week, he looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. But this is where the excuses stop. Mm-hmm. If he has a bad game, you can't say, well, the offensive line wasn't that good. The guy dropped one. Like, okay, if Riley Cooper or Miles Austin or Jordan Matthews doesn't catch the ball, I'm understanding of that. But you can't list every excuse down the board if Sam Bradford doesn't play well.
Exactly.
I mean, he's not some guy making $200,000 as an undrafted rookie. Mm-hmm. He's getting paid millions of dollars, and he's been in the league. And when he was with the Rams, it's not like he had a Brandon Marshall, Calvin Johnson type player. He didn't have the best group, and he played at least decent there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just...
But you cannot lie. Early in the season, and especially Jordan Matthews, there were some very crucial passes that were dropped.
Yes,
there were some very big, possibly game-winning catches that were dropped.
And I agree. There are some crucial moments throughout this year that cost the Eagles some wins. But there's no excuse for like the way they played against the Falcons or the Cow. Like those games are inexcusable, and that's the whole offense. And this is where either Chip Kelly has to make a decision, or sorry. Let me go back. This is where Jeffrey Lurie needs to make a decision on if he wants to keep Chip Kelly as the guy that has the control over the whole team, or if he needs to bring in a GM. Because
I can almost guarantee you that Chip Kelly will not quit or be fired, just because of how much he has influence in this organization. Well, then how deep he is.
Lurie needs to find a GM whose ego is as big as Chip Kelly's, if not bigger than. Because if you give him a GM that's just going to be a pushover, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. You need a GM that's going to say, Chip, I will draft, sign, trade for the players that can work on this team, and you need to make it work. Mm-hmm. Because right now, Chip Kelly is playing Madden with his team.
That was actually the first thing that I thought when he went out and signed Tebow, Miles Austin, like all these old guys, like this dude's playing Madden. And I was thinking about something when I parked down at the Rab and I took the bus up here. I was thinking about something, coming out of preseason, Bradford starter, Sanchez backup, and we had Tebow and Matt Barkley as our, two. They could have been our third stringer. We traded Barkley for a 7th-round conditional, which means we might not even get it, and we cut Tebow, so that only left us with two injury-prone quarterbacks. That to me is an example of, I love Chip Kelly. In Chip we trust. I say that, every single week. That's just an example of like, what are you thinking? You're trading away, Matt Barkley's not a starter in any right, but he is a quarterback who can run an offense. Why would you trade him for a conditional pick that you might not even get and then cut Tebow, who actually seemed pretty good in the preseason? This example seems kind of like out of left field, but it's just an example of like, Chip, what are you doing?
At this point, I'm tired of the whole Chip Kelly culture stuff. I'm tired of, if he doesn't fit in our culture, he can't be on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, Macklin, McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, and Evan Mathis would make this offense a lot better. And I'd take them any day of the week. Any minute of I'll take them. I would rather
not so much Deshaun at this point, just because he's slowed down quite a bit and his attitude has gotten very, very bad.
I would have him out there by himself than have Cooper, Huff, and Austin all out there.
I absolutely agree that he would be a welcome addition to this offense, but overall, I would not. I honestly wouldn't want to see him in an Eagles uniform. Just because, even when he was on an Eagles sideline and he was performing well, he had an attitude that caused fights. He was that guy that would disrupt a locker room. That's not a guy that you need when this team is kind of in free fall right now.
But at what point does talent overgo culture of the team? If there's a superstar out there, and I'm not saying a Greg Hardy, because that is a whole different issue.
Yeah,
you can debate all day long.
Oh, believe
if he
me.
should be on a team or if he shouldn't be on a team, that's for whoever wants to debate that. But if you're going to sit here and tell me a guy shouldn't be on the team because he might act a certain way that's different than what the head coach wants.
I will give you one name to give you a perfect example of why. Terrell Owens. Actually, I'll give you another one. Chad Ochocinco. Their attitudes override their talent. They might be fantastic number one wide receivers, but when they disrupt the locker room, when they annoy people, and when they just get in the way. Sure, they might be a spectacular receiver, but you cannot have that person around your other 52.
So let me ask you this. Would you say like a Randy Moss type player is going to be like that too? At times?
Randy Moss earlier in his career?
No, just Randy Moss in general.
Randy Moss at times was like that, but he wasn't consistently like that.
Okay.
That's the problem.
So is T.O. going to be a Hall of Fame player?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right now, like just in your opinion.
Honestly, I say no. Just because of the latter part of his career. I think we've had this discussion before.
But knowing that there's a discussion if he should be in the Hall of Fame means that he was that good of a player, right?
Oh, yeah. Earlier in his career, with the 49ers and even that 1 or 2 years here in Philadelphia, he was spectacular. But just for me, for a Hall of Fame career is you were spectacular throughout. You didn't have a few good seasons and then you kind of petered out.
Okay, so who has a better chance of making the Hall of Fame? T.O. or Josh Huff?
T.O. or Josh Huff? Well,
yes. Honestly, this is what I'm trying to ask.
Once again, I don't think that's a fair comparison because Josh Huff has only been in the league 2 or 3 years.
Who has a better chance of making the Hall of Fame?
I'm not going to answer that question because it's not a fair comparison.
Fine. Miles Austin or T.O.?
T.O., of course, because he's had better...
That's where talent overrules culture, though. If your talent is that good...
But T.O. was not consistently on one team. He bounced around because of his attitude.
And he was good everywhere he went.
No, he wasn't.
So if T.O. was not with McNabb for more than 1 year, you're telling me the Eagles would not have won at least one Super Bowl?
Say that again?
If T.O., how many years was he on this team?
Are you saying that...
Hold up. If T.O. was on this team for more than the 1 year he was here, would the Eagles have at least won one Super Bowl?
He would have helped us get there. He would not have won it.
I'm not saying by himself, but would the Eagles have a greater chance of winning a Super Bowl if T.O.
I would say yes,
here?
but
that's my point.
At the same time, he's just one player. He's just a wide receiver. We've all seen how good a wide receiver could be. Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald. They're spectacular wide receivers. They could have been Hall of Famers, just how good they are. But they're on teams with bad quarterbacks. That's what I'm talking about. They're just one player.
But at some point, I understand that. But at some point, the culture can't be the only reason you take a player. Lyle Collins, a perfect example. A guy who had off-the-field issues and teams didn't want to deal with him. He went undrafted, and now he could be a top offensive tackle on another team right now.
No.
Simply because of one off-the-field
He's not
problem.
starting, though.
Well, I think now he is, though. If he was on the Eagles right now, he would be probably better than Jason Peters is right now. Not over his entire career. I'm saying Jason Peters right now.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one.
I'm not saying Jason Peters in his prime.
I get your point. Continue. I get your point.
But that's what I'm saying. Are you going to be the head coach that takes a guy in the first round because he's nice and his answers to the questions are good, but his talent's maybe not there? Or I'm going to take a guy that's a stud player.
That's not the point that I'm making.
What's the point that you're making?
The point that I'm making is that, okay, you can be a stud. It has nothing to do with what you just said, taking him in the first round. Okay, Deshaun Jackson, perfect example. He was taken in the third round, I think. Second round. Or whatever. Very, very good player, but his attitude let him go astray. His attitude made him become a distraction. His attitude made him get cut from this team. Sure, you can be a spectacular player. You could be one of the best players of all time. But if your attitude causes disruptions, if you cause fights in the locker room, and if you're just a bad person, okay, I understand saying that, okay, so this player's, he's one of the best. He's such a good addition to this team. But there are 53 people on a football team, 46 active, no matter what. One person does not win a game. So if that one person disrupts the other 45 that are on that sideline, bad things are going to happen.
And like I said, if it's an issue that is so bad where it is affecting the entire team, I agree with you at some point. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that a team's not going to sign a player because he doesn't 100% agree with what the head coach wants, that is, like, I don't understand where that's coming from.
I agree with that too, but that's not the point that I'm making. I'm not saying that they're not signing him because of he doesn't agree. I'm saying because he's a distraction. That's the point that I'm making. I understand what you're taking a shot at Chip Kelly, trading away or cutting all these players because he's not his guy. I'm talking about a distraction in the locker room. That's what I'm talking about. You can take all the shots at Chip Kelly that you want.
But it's not taking a shot at him. But they just didn't trade him and get a third-round pick for him to help the team. They cut him.
Oh, yeah, and I agree. That was very annoying. Like, you just cut a Pro Bowl player. They did that with Evan Mathis and Deshaun. They cut him. You could have gotten something back for that. Kind of like how they got Kiko Alonso back for LaShawn McCoy. A fair trade? I wouldn't say so. But if he doesn't fit in the system, oh well.
And I'll even go this far, and this is my opinion of that trade. If Kiko Alonso did not go to Oregon, Chip Kelly would not have traded for him.
Oh, I agree.
And if LaShawn McCoy was on this team, I feel like they would be a lot better.
Actually, I don't know if I agree with that just simply because, DeMarco Murray and LaShawn both have very different running styles. That's obvious. But this offensive line is just putrid. That's just the only word that I can think of. It's just putrid. It's just terrible. So even if you have a spectacular running back there, they're probably just not going to do all that well just because of how bad this offensive line is. Lane Johnson has been doing his job pretty well, but Matt Tobin and Alan Barber, those are your starters. And Jason Kelce, he's missing snap counts. He's overshooting his quarterback. Like, what's going on? This guy's a Pro Bowler, and he's just playing terribly. Jason Peters, okay, he's old and he's kind of hurt, but he's still doing his job. Everything in the middle is just terrible. The tackles are doing their jobs just fine. The guards, the center, what's going on?
Well, from what I can tell here, so I'm actually looking at the NFL offensive line rankings right now. And I just this is the interesting part that I'm trying to explain. The Seahawks are ranked 31st. The Chiefs are ranked 30th. The Vikings are ranked 27th. The Dolphins are ranked 25th. The Bills are ranked 24th. The Saints are ranked 21st. The Packers are ranked 20th. The Broncos are ranked 19th. The Steelers are ranked 18th. The Cowboys somehow are actually ranked 17th.
Because the Cowboys, they actually do have a decent offensive line.
No, but what I'm saying is I'm surprised they're not higher. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
All those are ranked below the Eagles. And right now, you can make a case that all those running games are better than the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way LaShawn McCoy plays is beneficial to an offensive line that is struggling. Because he can go sideline to sideline and north and south.
I disagree. Just because there were a couple of times, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, when, I don't remember who was hurt, but, he's doing his thing, cut left and right and left and right. And instead of, oh, look, there's a little hole where I could gain, 2 or 3 yards, he's going to cut left to try and break it, to try and break one, and he loses 6.
Wait.
He did that a lot.
This actually just brings up a good point, too. You were bringing up the aspect of consistency, right?
Yes.
So LaShawn McCoy wasn't a consistent back for the last 5 or 6 years he was on the Eagles. He wasn't consistently a top 10 back in the league, right?
He was consistent, but at times his running style was not beneficiary to.
So who was
team.
more consistent in the league, DeMarco Murray or LaShawn McCoy?
Are you talking about last year? Or
I'm
this
saying
year?
over the last 3 or 4 years.
I'd say honestly, DeMarco. Just because of that offensive line down in Dallas.
Before last year, you probably didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't the guy that he is now, though, supposedly.
Yeah. Okay, so LaShawn McCoy will break off a run for 45 yards, but he'll also have a couple runs that go back a few yards. DeMarco
Murray's the same way.
DeMarco Murray down in Dallas was not the same way.
Yes, down in Dallas. Correct.
Exactly,
Correct. You're right.
I asked you this year or years past, and you said years past.
For what?
For this subject.
But
for who was a
asking
more
now?
consistent runner. And I said DeMarco Murray because LaShawn McCoy might be able to break off a run for 45 yards, but DeMarco Murray will consistently get 2 to 6 yards every single run.
But DeMarco Murray and the contract that he earned in Philly is a product of that offensive line.
Exactly.
LaShawn McCoy wasn't, though. That's what I'm trying to make. That's the point that I'm trying to say. It's not like the Eagles made him the superstar back. In Buffalo, yeah, the first 5 or 6 weeks when he was hurt, he wasn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
But the last 2 weeks, he's been playing very good ball.
Yes.
And the last time I checked, the Bills don't have the best offense in the NFL.
They got an okay one.
Oh, come on, man. Really?
Yeah.
No.
Tyrod Taylor, number 5.
Really?
What?
Really? Okay, before this year, he was a backup.
Yeah, and I really wish that Chip Kelly would have signed him over Tim Tebow. Oh,
Dad,
well.
I'm not even going to talk about Tim Tebow. I can't stand. Not.
Brother, I know. Tim Tebow. Yeah.
Over the last few games, or last few weeks, the Eagles have been scouting Paxton Lynch, the so-called quick riser in the 2016 draft.
And before you even start,
yes.
Christian Ponder was a quick riser too. So.
Oh, I'm not saying he's going to be a stud. I'm just saying, according to most people, he's the.
And he had trouble against Temple.
He's the guy that's coming out of nowhere. That's supposedly the top guy. But if you were Jeffrey Lurie or Harry Roseman or whatever, if you're the new GM, would you rather take Chip Kelly and Paxton Lynch, or stick with Sam Bradford and go get a new head coach?
Chip Kelly and Paxton Lynch, just because of the fact that Sam Bradford does not work in this quick-paced offense. Now, keep in mind, I'm just talking off the top of my head. I haven't been able to watch any of Paxton Lynch's highlights or anything, or I just heard of his name yesterday, to be honest. But just the thought of having somebody else who, wow, he's 6'7"?
Yeah, he's big.
Wow. Just the fact that he could be somebody who could work in an up-tempo offense who's not Sam Bradford, who actually is not injury-prone.
But if he's not necessarily a Chip Kelly guy...
Why do you keep bringing up this Chip Kelly guy? It doesn't matter if he's a Chip Kelly guy. If he works in this offense, then he will be here.
Because Chip Kelly doesn't adjust his scheme. That's the problem.
Exactly, but if he's not a Chip Kelly guy, but he works, then he will be here.
Well, Sam Bradford's not a Chip Kelly guy either, and how's he been working out?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exactly my point.
You know, can I just be totally honest here?
Yes, be totally honest. Please.
I honestly think that this whole Sam Bradford thing was just a big ploy to get DeMarco Murray here. I honestly believe that's what it was. You know, Nick Foles, okay, he was expendable, so we're just gonna send him and a second-round pick to St. Louis, and let's get Sam Bradford, who was DeMarco Murray's best friend back in college, and then we'll go and get the best running back from last year. I honestly think that's what happened. Like, I'm getting very tired of talking about, like, oh, Sam Bradford is supposed to be the franchise, everything. No, I honestly believe that it was just a big ploy to get DeMarco Murray here.
I just don't. And I said this on Friday, and I went off. I mean, I lost it because I'm tired of people saying that he needs time. He needs time to work in this scheme. Mm-hmm. It's week 12 or week 11. You got the time. You played in the preseason, regardless if you played one series or the entire game. It's week 11. You don't run 50 different plays. You run maybe 10. Yeah,
he honestly should know this offense by now. But and going back to before we went on break, you know, going back to, you know, and you can't blame the receivers all the time, but I feel like this would be a different team and a different attitude if there were a couple of catches that should have been made.
Like if players like Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin were here, or
no, like players like Jordan Matthews, who played very well last year, made a couple of crucial catches, especially ones going for a first down, or I don't remember which games exactly, but there were a couple games when where Sam Bradford threw a beautiful pass to him right between the numbers. Jordan Matthews juggled it, and then it got intercepted, and then they lost the game.
But is that something where is the team, I don't want to necessarily say quit on him, is the team just getting tired of Chip Kelly at this point?
No, the players just aren't performing. That's the thing.
But that's the point I'm making, though. Are they doing this? And I'm not saying on purpose.
Are they rebelling?
Sort of.
No.
Because the Dolphins, a lot of people were saying that the Dolphins weren't playing up to their potential because they didn't like their head coach. And then when they brought in Dan Campbell as the interim coach, they play a lot better.
They exploded.
And then they kind of went off the rocker a little bit.
But I honestly just disagree. I don't see that just because, you know, and of course, you know, NFL players are talking to the media. They really can't say what they want to say. But I honestly believe, like, you know, a guy like Malcolm Jenkins, who has, you know, there's never going to be another Brian Dawkins, but he has stepped into that, you know, secondary, you know, he's that leader behind D'Amico Ryans. Like, he's that guy with a voice. He's the guy that gets him pumped up. He says that there's absolutely no quit because they believe in them, but they believe in the system. And he said yesterday, I think it was to John Clark, he was saying that, you know, Billy Davis can call the plays. It's up to the 11 of us on defense to make the play. You know, they could make a great play, but if we don't perform, then that's what's going to happen. You know, it's not them just giving up. It's the players not performing to their highest level. Could it be something with Chip Kelly and his intense practices and his smoothies and everything? Possibly, but I don't think that's what it is.
But if the ball is thrown right in your hands, how can you drop that and say, well, I just couldn't catch the ball? Like, there's no excuse for that. There's none.
Honestly, I just see it as, you know, Jordan Matthews, you know, he second rounder last year, he played very well. You know, he kind of showed up as a almost number one slot guy, but, you know, a starting wide receiver. I honestly think it was just, you know, the dreaded sophomore slump. Like, he just got a little too confident, and he would, instead of looking the ball into his hands and into his chest, he would see it and then try and move to run, and then he would drop it. I feel like that's what he would do.
But one of the things that's important is that, oh gosh, I just lost train of thought here. Oh, when Marcus Smith was taken in the first round, and then Jordan Matthews was taken in the second. Well, no, it's not about him. But I'm saying Jordan Matthews was taken in the second round, and some people thought that Jordan Matthews was going to be Chip's first round guy. So you're telling me you're taking a slot receiver in the first round? I don't understand this whole slot receiver stuff. In college, he was yards and stats wise one of the best receivers in college football.
No. The reason why he was in the slot last year was because are you going to put Riley Cooper in the slot? Absolutely not. He's too slow.
He shouldn't even be playing.
I know.
I don't understand
Dude,
it.
I cannot stand him. But are you going to put Riley Cooper in the slot? No. Are you going to put Jeremy Maclin in the slot? No. So who are you going to put in there? Your rookie. And
Miles Austin in the slot.
Don't even start with that. But you have this rookie standout who's performing really well, but you also have two guys who are also playing at a good level. You're not going to move one of them out because they're comfortable there. So you put the rookie in there, and he becomes comfortable there. That's what it was. That happens with every offense ever. You bring in a good wide receiver, you're not going to put him on the outside immediately and then take a veteran and put him in the slot because they haven't played there that much, because that's a much different position than playing on the outside. You're just going to put some rookie in there while he gains experience and gets better. You're going to leave the veteran out there who knows what he's doing out there.
That's not
because it's different routes in the slot and on the outside.
Okay. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I've seen teams put their veterans in the slot, but it all depends on who the player is.
Not consistently, though.
Yeah, not consistently. I'll agree on that. Now, as I said a couple minutes earlier, saying how Matthews was a second-round pick, and that guy that we shall not speak of in the first round.
Yes, number 90.
But one thing I do want to get to is teams like the Panthers, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Cardinals. These teams are just worried about getting in the playoffs, making a Super Bowl run. And the Eagles right now sitting at 4-6. Is this where they start looking at the draft? Is this where you have to start looking at, because a team like the Patriots, they're going to have probably a bottom 5 pick. Their picks are who's best out there.
Oh, yeah, and that's the way it's always been. And yet they still have a really good team, and it's just so annoying.
And the thing is right now the Eagles are slotted with the 14th pick. But there are 8 teams who also have a 4-6 record. So right now the Eagles could have the 8th pick, the 14th pick, the 15th pick, the 10th pick. So it's just... And there's so many needs that they have right now on both sides of the ball, especially quarterback, wide receiver,
offensive line.
You could take any offensive player and it would be a good pick at this point.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's going to be important to look at is this going to be a team that needs to sign another stud free agent, or are you going to look at the draft to get these key positions?
I'm going to say no, it is not time to look at the draft just because of how weak this division is, because there's still a chance to win the division. Okay, you could say, why would you want to win a division with such a terrible team and you're going to lose anyway in the playoffs? There's still a good chance to win. This is not a team that has the attitude. This has never been a team that has the attitude of, okay, we're just going to lose. We're not the Sixers. Or they're not a team that just wants to lose every single game so that they can go and get a good draft pick. I say they're better off just going out and signing a good offensive lineman, because offensive linemen are hit or miss in the draft. Perfect example, Danny Watkins. Hit or miss.
I believe the Cowboys would argue that point, but that's just a team that knows how to draft offensive linemen.
Listen, something came up earlier with the Cowboys that made me laugh. The Cowboys cut running back Christy Michael and cornerback Corey White in part because they didn't wear suits on their road trip. So when people try and talk about the Cowboys being spectacular and what you just said, I laugh at the Cowboys because they are ridiculous. They, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, they are ridiculous.
But see,
that's a pretty good impersonation, no?
No.
Ridiculous.
Just so disrespectful. But no. So you're telling me you would rather have a 9-7 team make a wild card spot and get knocked out and have the 20th pick than... And I'm not saying the Eagles lose out. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. But you're telling me you wouldn't take a top 10 pick on this team right now?
Oh, I would absolutely take a top 10 pick, but just think about what we would have to go through for that to happen. Intentionally lose every single game. Just think about that. That is not... In no way is that going to happen.
I'm not saying... But that's not what I'm saying.
Not intentionally lose, but, but let's not give our best, everybody.
But what I'm saying is this where the team has to start focusing on the draft?
Well, I think at all times you have to have a certain focus on the draft, but not to turn all your attention to it. It's way too early for that.
And I'll be honest here, and this is just how I see it, and I'm not judging any team or any coach or players.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens lost arguably their 2 best players on their offense now.
Yeah, I did see that.
Flacco and Forsett are both down for the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a team that's going to say, we're going to make a playoff run still.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting ready for the draft.
Yeah, but they're a team that was kind of weak to begin with. You look at their offense, they were kind of weak to begin with. You had Joe Flacco, Justin Forsett, and then who else? Steve Smith. Okay, he's out. Who else?
So the Ravens didn't make the playoffs last year?
Yes, but they also had Torrey Smith and a better defense.
And Torrey Smith's doing what with the 49ers? I don't know.
Okay,
I don't think it's superstar numbers.
It's a different system. He still performed in Baltimore, though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
also Justin Forsett played at a higher level last year.
It's a playoff team. It does not matter. It is still a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Patriots lost Gronk, they're still not going to be a playoff team then?
Oh, absolutely. But the Ravens lost 3 of their superstars this year, and Steve Smith, Flacco, and Justin Forsett.
No. Yes, now, but I'm saying like week 4, week 5.
Oh yeah, they were absolutely going for it, but now there's nothing that they can do. Now there's nothing that team can do.
Well, yes,
the
and that's what I'm
Eagles
saying.
still have a chance though, because they don't have superstars that are hurt. They still have players that are good. The Falcons are going to have backups starting now. Whoever their backup is now is going to be starting. That's the difference. The Eagles still have starters out there.
But at this point, I feel like the draft has to be a priority now.
Well,
especially if Chip Kelly's not going to be here. That I don't know if he's going to be here or not. Sam Bradford isn't the superstar that they thought he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
The wide receivers, I don't even know what's going on there.
Yeah.
The offensive line is hurt.
Why? Yeah, let's play Miles Austin more than Nelson Aguilar, first-round pick. What?
They want. I guess they want to develop him. I don't know. But I mean,
in the words of Lil Jon, what?
What?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off. But
what?
It's just hard to talk about this team because there's like no direction.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're not good, they're not bad, they're just there.
I agree. They're
like you can't say anything good or bad about them. They're just there.
Like I'm gonna be completely honest. I have been paying more attention to the Phillies offseason, just who they could get in the Rule 5 pick in the Rule 5 draft. What possible veterans they could sign. These young guys coming through the minor league system. I've been looking at that more than the Eagles season this far, just because there's really nothing that too exciting about it. And that made me sound like a bad fan because, I only want to watch for the excitement. But isn't that what football is, the excitement? You're not going to watch just some boring team get their butts handed to them every Sunday.
I mean, it was the first Eagles game that I can honestly say I've seen where it didn't even feel like an Eagles team playing. It was really weird. Like there was no fan support in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Even the commentators were just like, first down Eagles. Like there was no hype about the game at all.
Who are the TV commentators?
I can't remember.
Okay.
But it was just like usually the fans are in it.
Yeah.
The commentators are lively for most games. It was just like it didn't feel like an NFL game.
It was just like we have to be here.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's go play football, guys. Let's be excited.
And that's but see, that's the thing is like, I know that a lot of fans probably want Chip Kelly gone by now. I mean, if he's here next year, there may be, riots at some point.
I still think a lot of people share the same attitude that I have of giving him just a few more years.
A few more years with him as GM too? See, that's the whole thing, man, because if he does
and we've had this conversation before where it's for me, I'm speaking for me, I'm not speaking for everybody. For me it was I want to see what this guy can do when he gets to the team that he wants. This is not the entire team that he wants. He still has guys left over from the Andy Reid era. He inherited an entire team from the Randy Eid.
Yes, the Randy Eid era.
I'm sorry, dyslexia. The Andy Reid era. He inherited all those guys. I wanted to give him a few years so I could see what team he could build. Who this highly touted, speed and tenacity. He made a word, speedacity. This guy who had an insane quick offense, this brutalizing defense, what he could do with a team. That's what I wanted to see. I didn't say, okay, year one, we're going to win the Super Bowl. No, I said, give it a few years.
But see, here's the whole thing that I'm trying to argue.
And Joe is standing up.
Yes, I am standing up because this is what gets me mad.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody thinks this is a rebuilding team, right?
I never said it was a rebuilding team. A rebuilding team trades away and cuts people and creates salary.
But look what they're doing with this. They're is supposed to be Chip Kelly's
rebuilding.
Year. But the thing is, this is supposed to be the team that fans wanted. This was the guy
say that
Chip
every
Kelly
single year.
No, the past 2 seasons it was.
These
aren't Chip Kelly's guys.
They said that in 2006 when they went like 4-12.
The point I'm making is that this is supposed to be the supposed year where Chip Kelly gets his team going.
Listen,
and look what they're doing.
Listen,
so you're going to give him more time?
Philadelphia sports writers and commentators say this every single year. This is our team because this is the market that we are in. This is one of the highest. This is one of the greatest fan bases in this country just because of the intensity. This is what happens every single year. This is our team. So when you say, okay, people are saying this is supposed to be the year, it happens every single year. So let's see, on November 23rd, 2016, are you going to be saying the same thing? That this was supposed to be the year? Because it happens every single year.
I'm not saying that. But what was the point that you made just before I went on this little rant here? You said, I want to give him 1 or 2 more years to get the team that he wants.
Yes.
This was supposed to be that year, though, is what I'm trying to say.
They say that every single year.
But what I'm saying is when Andy Reid's players...
You could tell that this wasn't the team that he wanted because he does not have a mobile quarterback.
Oh, come on. Out of the preseason, you were probably one of those fans that said this is going to be the year they make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I said playoffs, not Super Bowl. There's a big difference.
I'm not saying Super Bowl.
Yes, and Eagles fans say playoffs every single year because that's the hope for playoffs.
But with Chip Kelly's players that he had the past two years, they were supposedly not his team. They were still from Andy Reid's team, not Randy Eads' team.
Hey, listen, I have dyslexia.
Andy Reid's team, and they went 10-6 both years. So they said when Chip Kelly gets his guys, that team can be even better.
Yes.
But if this is supposed to be his team, look what he's done with his team. That's the point I'm making. So if you give him more time with his team, you're telling me it's all of a sudden going to be a playoff team now? I don't see that. See, and I see your smirk because you know exactly what I'm trying to make. The point I'm making is true.
I do see the point. You do make a very good point, but I'm going to say my point one more time. I don't believe this is the team that he envisions.
Well, then he shouldn't have traded for Sam Bradford. He shouldn't have signed Byron Maxwell. He shouldn't have made any of these moves.
No. Byron Maxwell, you cannot say that he shouldn't have done that because the Eagles needed so much help on the outside, and Maxwell has been quietly good. He has not been great. He's been quietly very good this year. But I forgot what I was going to say. Go back one sec.
Well, for $63 million, it's not a good signing. But yes, understandably, in the market that they're in and they need him, then yes, $63 million, I can understand why they signed him.
What were you talking about before Byron Maxwell?
Sam Bradford.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Darn it, keep going. I forgot.
But see, this is the point I'm trying to make. Everybody says, well, every year this is what the Eagles say. Every year this is what the media and what the fans say. Okay, but this is the year that if this is supposedly Chip Kelly's team and he's struggling with his team, how is he going to struggle with, or how is he going to make a playoff run with more of his team?
Because he would have a better quarterback.
But if this is supposedly his quarterback, though.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to go back to the point that I made before, saying that the Sam Bradford trade was just a ploy to get DeMarco Murray here. Sam Bradford is not going to be his franchise quarterback either next year or the following year. He's going to either trade or sign or draft his franchise quarterback, which would be a mobile quarterback.
And I will immediately shoot that theory down.
Why?
Why would you trade a second-round pick then for him?
Oh, I will never understand that.
Because he thinks that's his guy.
I honestly don't think that.
Because he sees the injured little deer that he can take and mold and shape, and he can make it his own. But guess what, folks? He can't run. He looks scared. If it's not his guy, then guess what? Chip Kelly has to go then. Because if this is supposedly his team and they look like this, bye then. See ya. I'll go get a coach that can win with talent. I mean, it's sad to say that if this is his team and this is the way that they're playing, then I don't know what else to do at this point.
All right, I'll see your point. I'll give you that one, but I'm merely gonna say this because I know it's gonna annoy you. You may say Chip Kelly has not been successful in Philadelphia. What about Chicago?
What about it?
They've been terrible this year. Ooh.
Okay, here we go. Got what, 7 minutes? Okay. Let me school. I'm not even going to say tell you.
Before you even start, I knew that this was going to happen. I'm so happy right now.
I'm not
hold up,
even...
ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Name me one person in the media or one fan that predicted the Bears to be in the playoffs. That's gonna be one thing I'm gonna say.
Ditka.
Every single person said this is a rebuild year, and that's what it is. Mm-hmm. They went 5-11. They weren't a 10-6 team the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. They were a 5-11 team. Their defense was maybe the worst defense of all time last season. Mm-hmm. Right? We bring in John Fox and a great coaching staff. We bring in the youngest GM in the NFL. They are rebuilding.
There you go.
And if you look at the talent on the roster, it's not that good. But guess what? They're playing better than they expected to be. Mm-hmm. Everybody had them projected to be the number 1 pick. And how many people said, oh, the Eagles, look at how they played in the preseason. This is the Super Bowl, baby. This is going to be the year. Yeah. And then now look how people said,
I'm standing up now.
I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. It's the Eagles every single year. The expectations for both teams are completely different.
Yes.
That's the point. So you can't compare those teams at all.
All right, I merely said that because I knew you would get riled up and I needed a laugh, so thank you.
You're welcome.
And B, what you just said, Super Bowl, I'm going to rewind a few minutes when you said playoffs. So you were talking about expectations?
No, you said you didn't have the Super Bowl expectations.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is there are tons of people that said, did you see the 40
every single year? Have you ever you live in the Philadelphia area, right? That is every single year.
The year
in
that
the
the Eagles
offseason, even back the Dream Team with Vince Young and Ronnie Brown, they're talking about, oh, this is the Super Bowl. This is every single year.
Okay. So look at me with a straight face, because I want this honestly. The year that the Eagles had the number, 4 pick in the draft?
Yes.
So that year, you thought they were going to make a playoff run?
Honestly, yes. That is every single year.
Like, really?
Yes.
Well, then that's just, I don't even understand that then. Because I watch games
every single year.
It's just like people that say, oh, we're going to run through these next 3 games. The Buccaneers, the Dolphins, the Lions. We're going to run through these games. And then they get crushed. Oh, I knew this was going to be the game that they were going to lose. Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? It's sickening to think how people expect and guarantee wins. I do not understand it. I get it. I understand there's a different, you have to have optimism for your team. You want your team to win every single game. Fine. But if I'm a 4-4 team and I'm playing a 3-5 team, I'm not saying we're going to just run through them 35-7 because we're that much better. Mm-hmm. You have one more win. Or is that a joke? Is that a joke? Seriously.
No, it's not a joke, because when you look at it overall, you look at who has the better team, who has the better players. That's the way that I and a lot of people look at it. Who has the better quality of players?
So, who has the better quality players, the Eagles or the Bucks?
Eagles, absolutely.
And who won 45-17?
But did they live up to their potential yesterday? Absolutely not.
But that's Chip Kelly's team, though. It doesn't matter.
This is not the team that he wanted. He needs a few more years until he... Listen, you can pound this into the ground. Sam Bradford is not the quarterback that he wants. Okay? Sam Bradford is not that quarterback because he's not a mobile quarterback. He was merely a fill-in. Okay? He is not that quarterback.
Then, man, he must be the best fill-in of all time to trade a second-round pick for then, man. Whew! I gotta clap. I gotta clap for that trade, man. Woohoo! And I get it. Nick Foles is not lighting the world on fire. I understand that. But if you trade a second-round pick for a guy that's gonna be here 1 year, that's sad. Like that's a bad trade.
Second-round picks are also very hit or miss. Every single draft pick is hit or miss. Okay.
So Derek Carr wasn't a good second-round pick. You're right. He's only like maybe a top 10 quarterback.
And
in the league.
Jaquan Jarrett out of Temple wasn't a good second-round pick. Oh, I forgot.
I understand.
He was
but the
out of
NFL
league.
draft now is not what it was 5 or 6 years back, where if it's the first round, that's all you need. Which was about 4 or 5 years back. Which is
But
what
you said 5 or 6.
Oh, my bad. 1 year, 365 days. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, it's specific.
Specific, you mean?
Shut up.
The point I'm making here is that every pick is important now in today's draft.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to trade a top 2 pick for a guy that's going to be here 1 year, then you should not be a coach or a GM in the league then. Because that is terrible. That is terrible. If I were to tell you, go back in time, and I showed you the stats for Sam Bradford, and I said, guess what, Nick? The Eagles are going to trade a second-round pick for him. What would you say? That's a terrible trade.
Great Scott.
Exactly. And if I told you, guess what, Nick? Sam Bradford's only a fill-in player, and they traded a second-round pick for him. What would you say?
Beep. Expletive.
You would be mad,
yes.
Right? That's the point I'm trying to make. This is Chip Kelly's team. Regardless, and here's the funny thing. Here's the thing that makes me laugh so much. You said that this isn't the complete team that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
If the Eagles were 8-0 or 9-0 or 10-0 right now, everybody would be saying, this is the team that Chip Kelly wanted. These are the players that he wanted. It's the perspective of how they are.
But I would still say that Sam Bradford is not a good quarterback for this system. I guarantee you, I would still say that because a mobile quarterback. We even saw that yesterday with Mark Sanchez, who's just a little bit more athletic and a little bit faster. They could do a read option.
So if Sam Bradford was putting up Cam Newton type stats, you wouldn't be saying he's the guy for Chip Kelly? I can 100% agree that you would say, I can 100% guarantee that you would say that he'd be the guy then.
A mobile quarterback fits in this system better than a pocket passer.
But what I'm saying is, if the Eagles had one loss and Sam Bradford was playing like Cam Newton is right now, everybody would be saying that Sam Bradford would be the guy then.
Okay, I might be able to say that, but I'll still tell you that a mobile quarterback will fit better in this system. Any
final thoughts, Nick? Because we're running out of time here soon.
Honestly, I've been looking at Phillies stuff for the past 10
Yes,
minutes.
go on your little 30-second spiel here about the Phillies.
Well, the Phillies are possibly going to be trading Ken Giles to possibly
I don't know why, but
the Marlins or the Astros, and I'll tell you a good reason why. Because he is young, he has a great arm, and we could get a couple good prospects back for him. And there's also a good pitching prospect from the Toronto Blue Jays that we got back for Ben Revere, who throws over 100 miles an hour and has great control, and he could possibly be better than Ken Giles. So it is a possibility that within the next week or two that Ken Giles could be sent to the Astros or the Marlins. This has been your Phillies report brought to you by Nick Hamlin.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm out of time here, folks. I want to thank Nick for filling in here.
Thank you. I'm out of breath, and I'm glad to be here and get yelled at.
I will be back Monday at 10 a.m. You're listening to 98.5 WNUW LP Aston.